Hey guys, it's Daren Copely. I wanted to introduce this next segment and just let you know what's going on. We're building an app for a great guy, an educator, fitness, health guy, a real champion for kids' health, and also a coach. We're doing his app called Nutrition Connection. I had a chance to catch up with him, talk to him about his idea, go over some things that are going on in the political situation with the nation's health, some other feedback about what our kids are eating and what they should be eating. So without further ado, here's the interview. Enjoy. All right, DJ, thanks for joining me today to talk about Nutrition Connection, this app that we're building for you. It's super exciting. Now that we're in the next phase, which is programming, I want to tell the world about you, your idea, everything that comes with you. So, why don't you go ahead and let us know a little bit about yourself, where you live, kind of where this idea came from?
Yeah, so I'm 35. I'm from Connecticut. My background is actually in supply chain. So not even in the fitness world. I didn't go to school for that. I actually didn't go to school for supply chain either. I went to school for finance, but I fell in love with fitness when I was 22, because I was really overweight growing up. I used food as a coping mechanism, to deal with my parents' divorce and everything that was going on there. When I was 22, I just looked at myself and I was like, I don't like the person looking back at me. So I lost 95 pounds. I became a bodybuilder, won my professional card there, got my certification for personal training, got my nutrition certification, and started coaching people one-on-one online from that point on, while still doing my corporate job. And then it was 3 years ago, I did a full circle moment. I started being the strength and conditioning coach at my old high school for the boys lacrosse team there, and later to bring on the girls lacrosse team. And I found throughout the years working with them, they all were interested in nutrition, but it never stuck. It was always like I was kind of lecturing and the information wasn't really sticking with them fully. And then one day I saw them on their phones, they were playing games and everything. And I was just like, what if nutrition was a game? This isn't out there yet. There's nutrition education courses, but again, it's lecturing and textbooks. But what if they could learn in a fun, interactive environment that it's still different than if there was nutrition course out there, because it's all hypothetical situations, right? When you're reading a textbook, it's like, you know, Ben eats X, his calories should be this, and this will get him to lose weight, but it doesn't put the actual person reading the book into like, this is my calorie number, these are my macros. So the game is cool because it takes them through lessons where they are being taught things, but they're plugging in all their data. So their height, their weight, their goals. And then it takes them through a fun interactive game at the end of each level where they're taking everything they learned into a real life example and they are the real life example. So that's kind of how the game came to be and where I saw the need for it. And then on top of it, there's no nutrition education in the school systems right now. So that's where the big rollout started.
So, when it comes to fitness and kids, we grew up in a time. I might be a teeny bit older than you, but you're still near me. Um, we go outside. There was some jokes on a Paul Rudd movie recently we saw a few years ago where he's like, "Go outside, play with sticks. Throw a ball. Play it. Build a fort." Right. Now as a father as well, I see the pros and cons. Right. I see. Okay, we have the gamify situation on iPads, right? So we're going to be doing an iPad digital game that's going to be teaching them this stuff. But I always get the questions, and I want to get it from you, where I feel like there's a good way to healthy balance this. You can have the digital time, but then you still need real life time. What are your thoughts, though? Because they will be learning on the app. It's going to be amazing. They're going to be gamified. They're going to be, achieving and getting rewards and really be motivated. But
Mhm.
once they get that in there, is there a certain schedule that you are going to add to the app that maybe talks about outside activities or something other than an iPad all the time? Because I have young kids as well. It's a
Sure.
good amount of iPad time. What do you think about that? Digital versus
Yeah.
real life play?
So that's a good question. I feel like it's twofold, right? I feel like they have to have the knowledge to know where the benefit is with the physical activity, right? And with the nutrition side of it, once they start changing the way they eat and they're not eating these processed foods, stuff from vending machines, and they start to understand it, they're going to start to feel better. They're going to start to feel more energy and want to be outside, not just sitting around playing games and everything. So I think tackling the nutrition will help to get them to be a little bit more active. And then in the app right now, it does talk about activity and how it affects your calorie level. And the more active you are, the more calories are burned throughout the day. So it does talk about energy balance in that sense. So I think that's where it will help. It won't force kids to get outside, but my hope is that through the change again of the nutrition, it helps with their energy levels. They feel a little more motivated and eager to get outside to, use that energy to improve their fitness.
Um, so with this plan to make everyone healthier, to give them just a little bit more information than they might be getting in their certain schools. School education varies, as you know. Different
Mhm.
parts of the country have suffering education, a lack of teacher knowledge, just kind of putting warm bodies in there. And then some other places are, phenomenal, and everywhere in between. Um, how do you plan to, like you said before, some people are kind of getting bored here and there. We know the attention span of kids, right? So uh, you spoke on it a little bit, but just a little bit more on that of engagement, and how do you plan to keep those very, very short attention spans longer? Where does it become sticky for them to stick around?
Yeah. So actually, I don't see the challenge with that with the app because each lesson is not super long. I would say the lecture portion where they're actually listening to the avatar speaking is nowhere longer than probably 4 to 5 minutes. And then they're going right into an interactive game. And then, as you mentioned, like they get rewards from it. There's a leaderboard so they can see who in their class had the highest score. So I feel like the competitive side will come out like it's actually like a real game. Honestly, I think some of them will skip ahead and do more lessons than the teacher actually assigns because they're going to have fun with it. Yeah, so I mean, that's where I think that can help.
So let's talk about access. Okay. So for access, we're going to be building this for admins to have, admins are going to have access first. It's going to
Yeah.
be a little bit of a gatekeeper situation, and that soft push out. And, just even past the soft push out, you'd like them to be controlling the situation. Talk to us a little bit more about how it's going to be deployed, how you're going to have us deploy it, and some of your ideas in that realm.
Yeah, so just like you said, it's going to be held by the admin. So think about like the teacher's going to have the full access, and what they'll do is they'll upload their full student roster with all the students' email addresses. It'll generate an email for them to go sign up, and at that point, they make their account, and it takes them right into the game, to creating their avatar and setting their goals and everything. Um, Here's where I think it's very helpful for the teacher because the teacher doesn't need to actually have the knowledge of nutrition because it's all in the game. All they need to do is assign the lesson per day and then log into the back end and be like, every student completed the lesson, every student had a passing score. We can move on to the next. There's no test they need to come up with because the app takes care of all that for them. So my thought process also is that every year in high school, and I'm pretty sure middle school as well, kids go through health class. And that I feel is the perfect time for the teacher to also bring in nutrition. So they're learning about health and the human body and everything. And then they're also being assigned a nutrition lesson throughout the course of the year while they are in that health class.
So let's talk about scaling in the future. So right now, what are the age ranges? What are the grades? Talk about who's going to have first access to this before you kind of get bigger.
Yeah, so right now we're building for high school. So grades 9 through 12, so age 13 to 17, 18. That is the first initial launch. My plan is after that goes well and we're testing and we know everything's working perfectly, I'm going to make what I call like a junior edition. It's going to touch base on the middle school. And then from there, I also want to build like a basic nutrition course that would bring into like I would say elementary school, but like fifth graders, like they're on the brink of going into middle school. They're right at that point of, understanding foods and everything a little bit more. So I think it'd just be good and it'd be something super basic at that level. Like this is a fruit, this is a vegetable, this is what it does for your body. Nothing along the lines of counting calories or macros or anything. That's I feel like the more the high school level. So that's where I'm going in the sense of the app itself. And then also 5 years down the road, my 5-year plan on this is to build a corporate office where I would have a tech team in-house, I would marketing team in-house, customer service, all to help with mitigating any issues with the app, any bugs where it can be fixed on site, or teachers can call in, they're having troubleshooting issues. But the great thing about that is I want to then open it up to seniors in high school for internships. So to teach them, they might not be into nutrition, might not be into fitness as a full-time career, but they may be into entrepreneurship. So it's a way for them to intern with someone who started a company from the ground up and learn the back end stuff of what goes on the day to day.
So let's talk about a little bit of politics. You don't have to get too political. I know you, no one wants to get in trouble. But if you remember back in the 90s, Arnold was with Bush Sr. He did a lot of the health in America, a lot of rejuvenation of education on health, put a spotlight on what you should eat, what you should not eat. You know, Arnold was always in the White House for that. That fell off over a few administrations. You know, might still have been there in some way, but not really a figurehead or real push for it. And we've seen a lot of these things going into our food, such as dyes and other crap. You know, it's just all kinds of stuff that people are flooding into our food, right? Now, I don't want to put you in a position where you have to say where you are politically. Stay away from that, obviously. But as far as policy goes, the whole MAHA movement, right? It's Make America Healthy Again. That's what they're pushing right now in Washington. They're talking about
Yes.
getting rid of dyes. They're talking about getting, you know, I believe Coke was putting cane sugar in instead of other kinds of sugar. So
Mhm.
in a political, in a policy sense, no matter Democrat or Republican, but in the sense of just putting a light back on health again since Arnold left, how do you feel about us kind of starting the engine again with health nationally?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting because from the political standpoint, I think it's really great that they are trying to get the dye. Well, they are working to get dyes and all those other ingredients that are banned in other countries out of our US ingredient list. I think that's going to take some time. I think it's great, but I think it's going to take a lot of time. And to me, the easiest solution is why don't we educate our kids where it starts on what is the proper way to eat and what is the foods that are great for them, for their energy levels, for to increase their academic test scores, to increase their graduation rate. Poor nutrition has been directly linked to lower academic test scores and reduced graduation rate. Studies have been shown that well-nourished students score 11% higher in academic tests, and they're 20% more likely to graduate on time. So I think this is an easy win if RFK Jr. just pushed nutrition education to every school system from the White House down. It wouldn't be someone like me, small, trying to just push it into every single school. Though I'm glad he's not, because
Mm-hmm.
you know
You don't want
here
that
I
much
am.
competition, right?
Yeah,
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 sure.
exactly.
Yeah, just let them
So
hang out for that for a little bit.
yeah, so again, I think what they're doing is great. I think it's going to take time, and then I also think even with it out of the ingredient list, all those bad items, people still don't understand how to read a food label. So
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, what
might
you
be
see a
eating
15-foot
better.
word,
Yeah,
you know, oxydiroxyb, you know, whatever these things are. And you look around, you got to Google it around. It goes, oh, that's like processed A, B, C, D, and E, you know?
yeah. And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, right? So if you could be eating, say you're just eating protein, let's just keep it simple. One ingredient, it's chicken or it's beef. If you eat too much of it, you eat over your calories, you gain weight. You're gonna get like gain weight, bad health things will happen to you and everything, like chronic disease. It doesn't matter if
Right.
it's
High blood
protein.
pressure,
Yeah,
all
it doesn't
that.
matter if it's a protein, carb, or fat. If you're eating over your calories, you're gonna gain weight, but people don't understand what are my calories? What does that
Right.
mean?
It's basically, what are you burning off? I try to tell my kids this, right? What do you, and I don't get too intense, but sometimes I have
Yeah,
been. But basically, what are you burning off and what are you putting in? If what you're burning is not, if you're putting in more than what you're burning, let's just use, you know, mathematics and simple mathematics. You know, it's basically like bailing out a boat. You know, if you're sitting here and getting flooded with water and your workout is just, you have a little shot glass getting it out of the boat,
yeah,
you're never gonna get anywhere. You know, you're actually
right,
gonna lose.
right.
So I think that was also one, in a personal note, of I had to come to terms with was, you know, you worked out, but it's like every workout's different. It's like you spend an hour in there, but what did you do for the hour? And then after the hour, did you, you know, slam a, you know, velvet cake or something, you know? So
Mhm.
even though because I was of that opinion, like, well, I did work out, so I could just be kind of cool and pizza time a lot. And it just didn't work out that way until I got my head straight about what goes in, what goes out kind of thing. Right.
That's the crazy thing. People think the workout's the hard part, but it's
Yeah.
not. Because you think about it, the workout's maybe an hour of your day. What are you doing
Mhm.
with the other 23 hours? Maybe you're sleeping 7 to 8. Okay, what are you doing with the remaining? You got to control what you're eating during that time frame. And if
Yeah.
you go again over your calories, that workout really didn't mean anything. You're not going to outwork a bad diet, no matter
Sure.
how much you
Yeah.
want to.
And the achievements and other things that for the incentives we're doing in your app, it will bring its replayability. It's they want to achieve, they want to get that 10th thing. I know when I use some of these apps, I want to not break my meter or my tracker or whatever that might be in that app. So I don't snack. I pull my hand away and don't do that
Yeah,
snack.
right.
It keeps you kind of that electrical fencer, it's kind of pulling back like, I'm cool. I just want to make sure I don't bust the meter. So
Yeah,
let's talk about this. Let's talk about mental health and diet.
yeah.
Huge. Um, you know, how is mental health affected with these young kids that are just, I've seen some of these kids, they feel like they've been pushed over the hill to where it's too late to work out to get it off. And now they're just mired in this like sitting around, not motivated. It leads to depression. It leads to so many things. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so poor nutrition has been linked to higher anxiety, and kids in general have high anxiety with, they're growing up, they're going through hormone changes, they're going through, stress of school. There's a bunch of things, and then you're adding poor nutrition into it. It increases their anxiety, adds more depression to them. Then they start not wanting to work out, which leads to more eating. It's like an ongoing cycle of
Right.
then they're eating to feel better, then they feel immediately worse and everything. So the side effects of eating bad are again increased anxiety, which leads to them overthinking certain things, whether then they're worried about school, their bodies are changing because the younger they're going through hormone changes, academic stress, and then again you're eating bad. So now you're combating all these things with poor nutrition, you're becoming depressed, and then yeah, then you want to maybe isolate yourself and everything. But what people don't understand is the second you start improving your nutrition, you start to have more energy, you start to have more mental clarity, you start seeing your academics test scores, for example, go up, you start to gain that confidence. Like it just trickles into so many positive things that you will never want to go back to what you were doing. You'll honestly start to think like, how was I even eating that way before? I'd never want to feel like that again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think once you start seeing results as well, that was the same with me. If you don't see the results, or maybe you're missing something in the equation, it's you could feel like you're not doing anything, and then but if
Yeah.
once you start getting that snowball effect and you start looking good and it starts tightening up and you're like, wow, this is working. I think that your body takes over and that natural high, like that runner's high you feel, or that workout high, you just feel everything's moving. You got, is it, I guess, what's the term? It's like dopamine rush, I believe. Is that what you're searching for with that?
Yeah,
Or
you gotta
do
yeah.
you get hit
You
from
gotta
that?
you gotta you gotta want the long-term dopamine rush, right? Because you can
Yeah.
get short-term dopamine from like the poor food, right? While you're eating it, and then it
Right.
immediately you go to that depression. So you got to be able to withstand knowing that you're going to wait a little bit longer. I actually saw an interesting article. It said 4 weeks for you to see change, 8 weeks for someone closer to you to see the change, and then 12 weeks for someone you don't really know to see that you've changed
Yeah. Right.
physically, right? But the problem is people usually quit after week 3. So they don't see the
Yeah.
change. So the problem becomes like consistency. You got to want the long-term benefit versus the short-term result. And that's where people, I think, fall into, I'm going to do, this diet or this juice cleanse just to lose the weight quick without realizing what's going to happen afterward when you go back to eating the way you were.
So how have your peers received this idea? Are you sharing this everywhere? Is it between just a few people? What's the story there?
Yeah, no, so I started putting it out on my Instagram a lot, and I do get a lot of positive reaction. Everyone loves it. Everyone thinks it's needed. The tough thing though is getting it to the right school administrators and getting myself in front of them. So to do that, I have been reaching out to every superintendent in the state of Connecticut, in New York, Rhode Island. I've hit basically the East Coast and hitting out the West Coast. Personally, I've sent out over 1,000 emails to all these superintendents, and there is some traction back from them. And I know we are in the summertime. A lot of them aren't working, in the office or whatever. So I am going to hit a lot of it come the school year start, as well as talking at some of the school board meetings, getting on the agenda and just letting them know what I've created. Because again, there's nothing out there like that right now. And it's perfect in the sense that when they teach health, it's the PE teacher usually teaching health class, and they don't need to hire another teacher. All that PE teacher needs to do is just administer it and monitor it.
Well, I remember in the 80s, man, growing up. Do you remember what kind of PE teacher did you have when you were growing up? Do you remember the body style? I don't know
Yeah.
if you had the same in Jersey. You grew up in Jersey?
No, I grew up in Connecticut. They weren't,
Connecticut.
yeah, it wasn't too bad. Usually they were like the sports team coaches.
Okay,
But
so you had a sports team coach for you?
yeah, so he was the football coach, and he
Okay, well, that was good.
yeah, he wasn't like super jacked and in shape.
Yeah,
But and I think that's a real big important thing too. Kids need to see their coaches in shape, which is why I'm really adamant on
yeah,
staying in shape, because when I go to coach every single year, they all look up to me in the sense that I know what I'm talking about. I speak,
absolutely.
I do what I preach. So that, I mean, that's another thing. So it's just like lead by example in all aspects.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I was hoping you'd have the same story as me. I had a woman who was just massively overweight. We're
Hmm.
talking like very heavy. And this is the 80s, man. I mean, they were probably smoking during PE class, to be honest with you. It's just the way things were back then. And every teacher, I just noticed there's a lot more young teachers now. There's a lot more that are in shape, and it's just more inspiring than when we were kids. You'd see someone kind of, she was like sitting in a chair and kind of tapping a stick saying, go work out. You don't want to see that.
Yeah.
You want to see your guy with you, like you said, with you in shape next to him. Then you talk about how to get your abs done, how you do your back. All you got to do is take your shirt off and go, look, I know what I'm talking about. So this is how you get it. But when
Yeah.
someone else, like a teacher that's employed in many schools, some people are lucky to have at least a coach. And in high school, I did have coaches. My baseball coach and football coach was kind of the same guy. But it's like, yeah, I mean, after a while, when you keep getting barked at, they look at you going, well, you're not doing it. So why should I be the most motivated person in the world? You know,
Exactly.
so that's good though, that you're leading by example as well. So DJ, let's talk about where this will be eventually. So we're going to be talking about pushing out on iOS and Android.
Mhm.
Um, now, let's talk about a little bit more detail on how people can get involved. So it's not just about us broadcasting it and students jumping in. It
Right.
is closed for the teachers, just to be clear. They will be handing out keys that we're going to be giving, and that's the way we're going to be connecting it for you. Um, why did you choose not to allow instant student access versus having admin to be the gatekeeper?
Yeah, I want it to be something that is pushed through the school system, because I feel like I can roll it out where students can, download the app themselves and everything and purchase it. But how many students would I really reach in that sense, right? How many students are going to actually go on Apple or Android and say, I want to do nutrition education, versus I'm in the school system, my health class is saying I have to download this app. And yeah, it may seem like they don't want to do it, but I know once they play the game, they're going to get hooked on it. And especially to know, like, hey, you're being assigned an app to download to play a game. Like, I never went through that in school. It was always like, read this chapter in textbook. So I think that's the reason for me not launching it out to students, and it allows more of a control factor of like the teachers being able to monitor and make sure that everyone is completing the lessons on time and passing the courses and everything. And I can reach more. So that's the big thing. I want it in every school in the nation. I want every student to have to learn about nutrition education.
So we probably scaling up to college one day.
Yeah, I want to go down first, because I feel like if I can tackle elementary, middle school, and high school, they'll go into college already knowing. And then,
Start them early. Yeah.
so then
Yeah.
if they want to go down the path of, I want to be, in fitness world, maybe they go and get an exercise science degree. They have all that knowledge going into college, and then that will take them to the next level. I feel like once they pass through the high school portion, there's not really a need for it and in college anymore, unless you want to advance into that type of career, in my opinion.
Yeah. Good point. You catch them early, they'll get that good muscle memory.
Exactly.
Um, all right. So I got two more for you. One is one I'm always curious about, and I like to hear people's opinions when they're in the health field. Uh, I've traveled a lot in my life, 18 and through my 20s, to Europe, seeing body styles in Italy and everywhere else that I've gone, Lucerne, Switzerland, you name it, in that zone. I felt I got a good feel of how Europeans eat. Um, but why do you think Americans are heavier than pretty much the entire Earth?
Mhm. Personally, I don't think well, I think the food is a factor, but I don't think it's the biggest factor. I think it's from lack of movement. If you notice, like
Mm,
anyone in like Italy or anywhere in Europe, they're walking everywhere. So I mean, they're probably walking like 20,000 steps a day, probably the equivalent of
yeah.
someone in the city or something in New York City. They walk a lot.
Mm,
Average person, you think about it, they wake up, they go in their car, they sit in traffic, they go sit at their desk at work, they leave their
hmm.
desk to go into their car and drive home, and they come home and
Yeah.
they want to sit on the couch. How many steps did you get in a day other than walking
Yeah.
to the bathroom? So
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing because it's your walking, it's all your daily activity that accounts for calorie burn and everything. So that helps with your calorie needs and helping to lose weight in addition to working out. So you definitely need to work out too, but having those extra steps and that extra exercise is very helpful.
Um, so, all right. So let's talk about when people will start seeing this come out into market. I mean, I know
Mhm.
this kind of stuff. I know some of the plans, but for everyone watching and wanting to know a little bit more about this, possibly talk to their teachers as well to get their students involved and maybe even help us and especially you get more word out, right? Like, hey, we heard about this thing. Can we get it in our school, right? So when is your goal push out for version one so everyone can kind of know when it's going to hit?
Yeah, so my plan is during this first, say the first semester, the first fall portion is where I'm going to really be marketing and pushing and demoing to all the schools, getting into the Board of Ed, also going to be speaking at some nutrition conferences, some educational conferences. And then the goal is second half of this year. So come January, I would love for it to be trialed in some schools, going to run some specials for the first year of being out. Usually I'm going to be charging this by the year, but for the first time signups, I'm going to give 18 months for the same price as 12. So it gives them the first 6 months of 2026 to say, hey, let's trial this for the last half of the semester. And then they're going to love it. So they're going to want to keep it going for the next year. So then they'll do the next year and then we'll get back on a yearly subscription after that.
Awesome. All right. Well, DJ, thank you so much from Nutrition Connection. This is an amazing project. I'm having a lot of fun so far. We're going to keep everyone updated on how it's progressing as we develop. And thanks for joining us tonight, man. Really, really pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy working with you. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks.